neighbors show up to swing sledgehammers and deliver plates of barbecue. The shared trauma and communal recovery made us feel deeply connected to our new community and to our new neighbors. But something had begun to change by the time my wife showed me that Facebook post 3 years later, and not just in our subdivision. The country was in the grips of a nationwide shared trauma, and America's response had been anything but communal. Rather than bringing neighbors together, the COVID-19 pandemic had been driving them apart, forcing people inside and online, deeper into their own echo chambers and, in some instances, planting seeds of suspicion and resentment, feelings that only grew more intense following George Floyd's murder under the knee of a white police officer in Minneapolis in May 2020. That spring and summer, people were taking in a constant stream of footage from protests and riots that, depending on which cable news network they preferred, were being framed as either a historic opportunity to address centuries of racial injustice or a lawless attack on cities by anti-American extremists. Now, it seemed, all that anger and angst and uncertainty had found a landing spot on my neighborhood's Facebook page. In a separate comment on the same post, another neighbor shared her fear that Antifa and other groups might be strategically planning their assault on Timberlake Estates for the night of July 4th, with the shooting masked under the cover of fireworks. "We need to be on alert for sure," she wrote. In a follow-up post, the neighbor who'd written the initial warning about Antifa offered a tip for what to do if activists showed up and swarmed anyone's cars. "Once they block you, they are no longer protesters, but a threat," he wrote, and then posted a copy of a Texas statute that he said gives motorists the right to shoot to kill in that situation. "Yup," someone else responded, "we are locked and loaded all the time." That last comment made my breath catch in my throat. Why were the people of Timberlake Estates preparing for combat? A few of my neighbors, it seemed, had latched onto a viral conspiracy theory that was rearing its head in suburbs and small towns all over the country in 2020, fueled largely by the man whose presidency had already done so much to expose and exploit Americans' primal distrust of one another. All summer and through the fall, Donald Trump had been warning supporters that Black Lives Matter activists and Antifa were on a mission to destroy suburbia. And he didn't mean figuratively. Does anybody want to have somebody from Antifa as a member and as a resident of your suburb? Trump, campaigning for a second presidential term, asked a crowd in Freeland, Michigan later that September. "I don't think so too much." Then he did a bit where he pretended to be a married couple discussing their new neighbors. "Say, darling, who moved in next door?" "Oh, it's a resident of Antifa." "No, thank you. Let's get out of here. Let's get the hell out of here, darling. Let's leave our suburbs. I wish Trump were president. He wouldn't have allowed that to happen." 2 days later, Trump's campaign sent a text message warning millions of supporters that members of Antifa would attack your homes if Biden was elected. The fact that some of our neighbors were gearing up to face that imagined threat was almost comical, until we realized they were serious. My wife, Bethany, the biracial daughter of a Black police officer, had always been burdened by fears that her dad might be killed in the line of duty, or while out on a run in his overwhelmingly white neighborhood in Ohio, where a neighbor had once called the cops on him for jogging past their house. Another time, someone vandalized my father-in-law's car with the N-word. We'd intentionally chosen to raise our kids somewhere more diverse. And yet, here we were, sharing a fence with someone who was stocking up on ammo in response to disinformation and assumptions he'd made about strangers based on their appearance. The next day, I sat our kids down and instructed them not to ride their bikes past that neighbor's house. A few weeks later, partially in response to the Facebook fear-mongering, Bethany decided to plant a Black Lives Matter sign in our front yard. A small gesture that, nonetheless, felt like a big one. Because of my line of work as a journalist, we'd always refrained from displaying political messages on our car or around our home. Reporters, after all, are trained to appear objective. But that summer, the words Black Lives Matter had, for a short time at least, seemed close to ubiquitous.